Moving on, the challenge of footing the medical bills of patients whose relations have bolted after taking them to the Greater Accra Regional Hospital is draining the coffers of the hospital for its smooth operation. Though a common phenomenon in most public hospitals, medical personnel, particularly at the intensive care unit of the Greater Accra Regional Hospital, say the situation is not sustainable. To enable it to continue to deliver health care to the numbers that troop in there on a daily basis, the medical officers are urging the public to subscribe to the National Health Insurance Scheme to reduce the cost burden of seeking health care. JoyNews' MFA Tiamwa Eli visited the intensive care unit to speak to the authorities.
Sometimes the relatives or the patients, they are so bad, and I know it's difficult for the family to maintain the payment of medication and all this money issue problem, and sometimes they can abandon patients, they can go and never come back. And at this point, sometimes the hospital has to come in and provide all the medication for the patient until the patient can be fine and we can send the patient to the different department.
Have you had to follow up or check on any of these relatives and how difficult it's been for you reaching them?
The only way to find them is through the telephone number, but sometimes they can off the line and it's impossible to connect again with the families. We have one case, the lady that we have in our background, she was a case coming from ONG, or Obstetric and Gynecology Department, and right now it's more than 3 weeks that the family, they are not coming at all. The hospital right now is providing all the medication for her, all the feeding, the food that she's receiving to the NGTU. The hospital is providing all these items.
In certain cases, I know that you would have to ask the consent of family members to be able to undertake certain procedures whilst you have the patients in this department before you go ahead with such procedures. So in the instances where you have lost contact with the families, what do you do? Okay, procedures, for example, if we have the patient already in our unit, and at some moment, the patient has to go back to the theater to do any another procedure. We know that we have a consent for, but if the patient needs to go to theater and no family around, and the theater means save her life, we have to send the patient to theater, we have to do the operation, we have to do all the things to save her life, no matter how that any family member is around to say yes or not. Because the problem is you are not going to allow to see a patient die there if you can do something, okay? What is the worst case scenario you have experienced in this problem you are sharing with us, and how have you had to deal with it?
I think that for me, in Africa, right now in Ghana, the principal problem that for me we can fix is when you have to do transfusion to the patient and you don't know if the family is going to allow, because sometimes the patient is unconscious and it's impossible for the patient to decide, okay, I can receive transfusion or not. And at this time, the family is not around. This is a very difficult issue, no? Because here we have the spiritual and all this belief and all that. It's the more difficult time that we can fix it.
Did you experience any case like that? Was there an instance like that? Did you have to deal with something like that? I mean, in this particular department.
Okay.
And how you pulled through?
Okay. We have one time a case like that, but was in the old building. But at that time, the lady was conscious. Okay. Was conscious. Really, she was conscious. And at that time, we have to explain to her. She was with 4 babies already, and we have to explain to her that if at any point she has to receive blood, and she say no, she's going to die. And if she die, who is coming to take care of the family? Who is coming to take care of the children? We have to sit down with her close and fast because she was bleeding, and we have to be active and say, look at, this is the issue. You have your belief, but the issue is if you are going to die if you don't allow us to give them the blood and the FFP and all these blood product. And at the end, she said, okay, yes, because if not, she will be dead.
Dr. Mrs. Kaba, the issues that we have talked about, what do you think is the way out of the situation your department finds itself now?
Okay, service inside the intensive care unit is not, the health insurance is not cover this area. This is one issue, important issue, because it's so expensive. I don't know if at any point will be possible for Ghana to reach that level, at least that the insurance, the health insurance can cover at least the service in our end. And the second thing will be maybe if some organization, ONG, or some people around with possibility can help or can do some help to the unit, at least for the people or for the relative or for the patient that don't have money to cover all these expenses.
Okay. I don't know how long you're able to follow some of your patients after they leave here.
Yeah.
But have you had a chance of meeting one patient who went through this department and finally after they were fully treated, they managed to go, their family meets them and take them out?
Yeah.
Have you had that encounter?
Yes. In one occasion, we have a patient coming from ONG, Obstetric and Gynecology Department. She was coming with this eclampsia. Eclampsia means during the pregnancy, at the end, the patient started with convulsion, the BP was coming higher. She started developing some problem to make urine and all these complications in relationship with the eclampsia. And later on, we have to fix her on mechanical ventilation for a while. And later, in one moment, we have to request for the family to buy plenty medications. I know it was expensive, and so long. Maybe they saw the patient almost going to die, and they decided to don't come again to see the patient. It was more than 3 weeks. Any family, any relative was coming to check on her. In this case, the husband, because the husband was the first family member that we saw. When the patient was coming better, I was able for us to send her to the ward, but all this time we have to buy for her the food. When she started eating, we have to bring the clothes for her to wear, shoes, and the only idea that we did was call the husband to tell him that the lady was dead. And this was the only way that the family came together to collect this. They supposed to collect the body. They was coming thinking that maybe they was coming to collect the body from the morgue. And at that time we had to show to them the lady fully recovered.
What was the woman's reaction, the patient's reaction?
Oh, the patient, they started fighting with the husband and started shouting on him by magic. Okay. We didn't get another. At that moment, for me, it was difficult because I was thinking, okay, at this point, what we can do? Because,
A little distance in the background, you see Dr. Kaba and some of her assistants taking care of a patient here at the Ridge Hospital ICU. This patient at the background has been here for close to a month. She was brought here at the latter part of December last year, 2019, around the 20th thereabouts. So practically she spent her Christmas in this department. Till date, the family cannot be located. It is a typical example of the challenge we are sharing with you here on Joy News. So you have cases where parents or family members bring their relatives here for treatment. At the end of the day, they are nowhere to be found. And then it now becomes the responsibility of the hospital to bear the cost of treatment. This, the hospital feels, is not sustainable and are looking for a way out. Can you put a figure to the costs you would have to bear as a result of having to take care of those patients who have been abandoned here by their relatives?
In her case, for example, per day, one day that the patient spent with mechanical ventilation is around 450 or 500 CD
A day.
a day, only for the mechanical ventilation.
Okay.
Imagine, plus the monitorization.
Okay.
It will be around 200 or 300 CD. If the patient is using the machine to the perfuse and all these things, this coming to add another. But per day.
On the average,
per day, maybe 1,000 CD in a day.
1,000 CD to maintain one patient
Yes.
in this department.
Yes.